Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawahir al-Quran Udurr, the Jews of the Quran and its pairs. We have reached Surah Ibrahim alayhi salam. And in this session, of course, the selection, we talk about two groups, two selections within this surah that Imam Ghazali chose, verses 24 to 27 and verses 38 to 41. Inshallah, we'll deal with the fair selection, but we'll try to pave the way and to see what do we have in this surah all the way to 24, to verse 24. The surah begins with three separate letters, which we have dealt with before. And as usual, when these letters are mentioned, of course, just to give an example, here in this particular surah, Surah Ibrahim, it's Alif Lam Ra. In Surah Al-Baqarah, for example, Alif Lam Mim. In Surah Al-Imran, Alif Lam Mim. So it depends which surah, but the total is in all of these chapters, in all of these surahs where these letters are mentioned, there are only 14 letters of the Arabic alphabet, so that's half. Like the building blocks, and the challenge to the non-believers is to come up with a Qur'an like this, with 10 chapters. So here are the building blocks. Come up with a book like this, and of course they will not be able to come up with anything similar to the Qur'an. And so there's a reference immediately to the book. This is a book addressing the Prophet ﷺ. This book, in this particular case, it's the Qur'an that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the Prophet ﷺ so that he may lead people out of darkness and into light, which we speak about spirituality here, by the will of their Lord, to the path of the Almighty, the praiseworthy. So, a reference to the book, the messages, the theology should always be the same. The law differs in certain respect, but it's like a Venn diagram. Remember, again, theology should not differ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God is one. Cannot be two, cannot be three. No Trinity, no dualism, no shirk. You don't associate anything or anyone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, not only this, even when you say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, bearing witness to his oneness is not to attribute the attributes of his own creation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we are limited by space and time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be limited by space and time, so cannot really subscribe to an anthropomorphic image of God. Whatever you imagine, he is other than that subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is going to be a challenge for anyone who is used to in his or her religion, they are used to personifying God with almost, we might say that, creating God in their own image. But the Greeks did, but that's not limited to the Greek gods. Also, people throughout history, they have subscribed to this image because they lack the knowledge. Subscribe. This is the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be taught in this fashion. Nothing's like unto him. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. And to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala belongs whatever in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, and a warning to the disbelievers. The warning entails severe punishment in the hereafter if they don't heed the call. One of the signs, one of the attributes of those disbelievers, that they favor this life in this world over the hereafter. And not only this, they hinder others from the way of Allah, striving to make it appear crooked. If it is they who have gone far astray, there are those today within I would say the last few years, but this is a universal phenomenon. But today with the spread, because all these platforms made it easy to share information, both good and bad. One can see how, for example, Richard Dawkins, I describe him as the prophet of atheism. They try to dissuade people, to steer people away from religion, from God. They subscribe to a materialist understanding of the universe, which is absurd. This is not I have dealt with this before, but we'll continue from time to time to say that matter in itself, it is so it is surreal to think that sterile matter could come up with such a wonderful, beautiful, amazing creation. Subhanallah, a human being with a brain that has 86 billion neurons, and not only a brain, the material part. You know very well, it's the mind, it's the spirit, it is consciousness, it is the ability to think, to imagine, but also to be critical of those who would like humanity to go astray. We have not sent a messenger except in the language of his people to clarify the message for them. Then Allah leaves whoever He wills to stray and guides whoever He wills, and He is the Almighty, all-wise. So, in the language of His people, and this is an amazing thing, if you think about how when you try to understand the message in a different language, remember that a translation of the Qur'an is not the Qur'an per se, it's a translation. Every translation is an interpretation to the best of the knowledge of the translator. For example, if it's in English, the translator should know both Arabic and English to a level proficiency. But the moment the translator translates a verse, a concept, he or she is already choosing from what's available to him or to her. And then you are interpreting the interpretation. You are interpreting the translation. That should not be the case. If scholarship means you need to learn the language, in this case it's Arabic, But it also means that one of those, the messenger being Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for example, for 40 years he did not utter one single word about himself um, being any. He was not different from the other people. He he was trustworthy. That's something that they knew. So if you go to Mecca, like we say back to the future, but if you go back to the past for a minute, and you go to Mecca, and to those who became his arch enemies, and you ask them, whom can I trust in Mecca? I would like to leave, for example, um, something valuable, but I need a trustworthy person. They will tell you it's Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Even his arch enemies would have said this. Uh, then when he became 40, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him to for this message. And the narrative shifts immediately to Musa alayhi salam, which is not the first time in not the only instance in the Quran where the narrative shifts to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. And it's about the delivering the message. Of course, we speak about the Torah, we speak about Musa alayhi salam facing the Pharaoh, okay? But he wanted to get his people from darkness to light. That's the vocation of all prophets. And to remind them of God's favors upon them, the days of favor. Surely in this are signs for whoever is steadfast, grateful. And then he reminded them that of the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of when he rescued them from the people of the Pharaoh who afflicted you, who afflicted them, of course, with dreadful torment, slaughtering your sons and keeping your women. That was a severe test from your Lord. If you are grateful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises to give more. But one needs to be grateful. For those who are ungrateful, there is a warning of severe punishment. And whether they believe or they don't, it's not going to change anything in the dominion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need his creation. He does not need their belief, but this is the path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set for us. And a reminder of people who came before us, reminder to them about the people of Noah, of Ad and Thamud, and those who came before after them, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows if you read it in that fashion. وَالَّذِينَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ لَا يَعْلَمُهُمْ إِلَّا اللَّهُ. The messengers brought them the signs, but they have rejected the message. And they have insisted on the way of their fathers. They wanted simply continue to worship with their fathers, with their parents, with their community. So if you are born within a community and you have been raised to believe something, or even let's assume that you have been raised in an atheist or agnostic family or whatever, do challenge your heritage, do challenge your context, your cultural context. And if you have been raised in a specific religion, do challenge that, do question one of those it could be Richard Dawkins himself who said that religion prevents questioning. No, it doesn't. In the case of the Quran, it doesn't. In fact, you are invited to ponder upon the universe. You are invited to. There is literally uh, a field of knowledge, Islamic, maqasid al-Sharia, the aims of the law, the aims of the Sharia. You attempt to understand the why. So you ask the question. There is in the Sunni world, uh, there is no papacy. There is no one on top of the. There is no pyramid. There is no hierarchy. There are scholars, but those scholars are not clergy. Those scholars do not speak. There is no such a thing as ex cathedra. There is no infallibility beyond the prophets, beyond the messengers of God. There is no uh, infallibility. This is why you have no superior when you write. When you either your writing will be accepted by the community and the community of scholars, and if there's anything wrong, they will point to that. And I would like to move forward to a promise that those who insist, or in the case of the community, of Musa alayhi salam, the children of Israel, they were threatened. In the past, in fact, no prophet was ever accepted with open arms, and this kind of ostracizing, expulsion, forced migration, exodus, if you will. So they have threatened them, we will certainly expel you from our land unless you return to our faith. Just you need to accept the dominant culture. So their Lord revealed to them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God said, we will surely destroy the wrong doers and make you reside in the land after them. This is for whoever is in awe of standing before me and fears my warning. The story with of the children of Israel is definitely a story with you talk about faith versus disbelief, and what the Pharaoh. I mean, if you talk about the Musa alayhi salam, he was asked to be soft when he speaks to the Pharaoh. But what's the problem? The Pharaoh. The Pharaoh is someone who claimed to be God. He is the source of knowledge. He is the source of truth. He is the source of. No one else could challenge the Pharaoh's worldview, if you will. This is why in Surah Ghafir, if you what does the Pharaoh says in Surah Ghafir? This is verse 29. قال فرعون ما أريكم إلا ما أرى وما أهديكم إلا سبيل الرشاد. And everyone, it's not only that, ancient Egyptian ruler, the Pharaoh, it's not only him who says this. Today we have people who behave like the Pharaoh. And yesterday, ultra-Orthodox Jews in the United States addressed President Trump with this particular message. They told him, you are not God. The way he behaves, you talk about an immoral, narcissistic, arrogant, egoistic person. He speaks as if he is God. He would not say, I am God, but he behaves. He wants to. He wants that position. He wants to, and of course, the context is his hallucination about about ethnically cleansing the Gazans, as if people have forgotten that there is something called justice. If you really care about all people, then there is something called justice. You cannot you cannot force peace against a background of such enormous human tragedy, and you support this human tragedy, and you support the ethnic cleansing, you support the genocide, and this is the 21st century. What is it? Is justice a medieval concept? We are done with justice. Justice is a prerequisite for peace, so that we could end this human tragedy. The selection itself, verses 24 to 27, there's a very beautiful parable, a beautiful image. Do you not see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compares a good word to a good tree? This is the image. Its root is firm, and its branches reach the sky, always yielding its fruit in every season by the will of its Lord. This is how Allah sets forth parables for the people, so perhaps they will be mindful. ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس لعلهم يتذكرون. This is a very beautiful. It is. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ narrated by Imam Bukhari. It's a sound tradition. The Prophet ﷺ said once, narrated Ibn Umar, that they were with the Prophet ﷺ, and he asked them, tell me about a tree that is similar to the Muslim, man, of course, the Muslim woman, to the person. So he wanted them to mention, to try to say which tree is like the Muslim. He said specifically, its leaves do not fall neither during the summer nor during winter, and its fruits are تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها, all the time with its with the will of its God, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the God of the universe, and not only God of the human beings, but it provides its fruits all the time. That's the Ibn Umar said after what the Prophet ﷺ just mentioned. Of course, the question was still valid. Ibn Umar said that he thought it must be the palm tree, but when he saw that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar, his father, Ibn al-Khattab, they would not say anything. He was the youngest in the group, from another hadith narrated by Abu Dawood, I think. At any rate, he was the youngest in the group. When those elderly companions, the older companions, did not say anything, he he became reluctant to speak. When they did not say anything, he did not say anything. Ibn Umar, until the Prophet ﷺ himself answered the question. He said, "It's the palm tree, he and Nakhla." When they got up, when they dispersed from that sitting, he told his father, "Oh father, by God, that's what I thought in my um, internally in myself, that it's the palm tree." He told him, "What prevented you from speaking?" He said, "When I saw you not speaking, I hate to say something, to speak or to say anything." Then Omar, his father, said, "Had you said that, it would be more beloved to me than such and such." He mentioned كذا من كذا وكذا, which is a beautiful thing if you think about the image of the evergreen, if you will, uh, positive, continuous positive input. This is and we don't speak about the Muslim, the nominal Muslim. Absolutely not. Live up to the message. Just think about when the Prophet ﷺ said, uh, if the day of judgment unfolds and you have a seedling um in your hand, and if you could still plant it, do. I mean, it's a call for continuous positive uh, action, if you will. In this case, we talk about the a good word, the impact of a good word. It will continue to say something good, and it will continue to yield good. Say something good, truthful. Say something beneficial. There are certain people might say something that is absolutely uh, the second part of the selection, the first two verses about the good word, and then the other two verses about the bad, evil uh, word. We'll get to that in a minute, inshallah. So say something good. Be brave in saying something good. Remember that in the hadith, what the popular narrative is that the greatest form of jihad is a word of truth in front of a tyrant. Talk about a tyrant ruler, Sultan Jair. The sound tradition, the highest form of jihad is a word of justice, like a word calling for justice. There is no contradiction between a word of truth but in the second case, the word of justice is more specific. It is still truth, but it calls for justice. Like today, calling for justice, calling for an end to this perpetual war. Just people, leaders uh, who have the power can make a positive difference in the world. You say you are a superpower, and you, in a sense, you are. Use that position for good, the good of humanity. The opposite in the other two verses. ومثل كلمة خبيثة كشجرة خبيثة اجتثت من فوق الأرض ما لها من قرار يثبت الله الذين آمنوا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ويضل الله الظالمين ويفعل الله ما يشاء. And the parable of an evil word is that of an evil tree uprooted from the earth, having no stability. Allah makes the believer steadfast with the firm word of faith in this world, the life, and in the hereafter. And Allah leaves the wrongdoers to stray, for Allah does what He wills. It has been mentioned like we said, the palm tree for the good word. For that which is an evil word is like a bitter um, plant. Um, Bitter in the sense of you don't tolerate it. It's poisonous. It's just like there are plants that they have the good taste, beautiful color. You enjoy its flavor, the aroma, everything about it is beautiful. And there are plants like the Citrullus colocynth called handal in Arabic. It's very bitter. In fact, it's um, subhanallah, the fact that we can decipher plants and we notice the bitterness and the foul smell and what have you is to avoid it because it's poisonous. Though some people would use certain parts as medicine. We're not going to. This is not the our concern. The medicinal attribute characteristics. That's the idea is that there are plants, maybe like a point of reference to realize that you have good plants, beautiful plants, delicious fruits, versus these kinds of plants. There is a kind of flower that a plant that its flower it does not flower often once in a blue moon, as they call it, and it's almost like a dead corpse. That's how they have described its smell. So that's the evil word, the fake news, the narrative, any narrative that calls for mistreating any specific race, any specific people, any specific background. We need to end these evil narratives. So this is really the two parables. We have the good word and the beneficial, the fruitful tree, the palm tree, as a parable. Of course, it's any fruit tree that is beneficial, and here the image is also being evergreen, continuously providing something good. And then you have the bad word, bad narrative, evil narrative, like an evil tree. It has no roots. It has no stability. Subhanallah, and it means also that the good will win over the evil, the bad. Being it's a gift from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to be steadfast with the word of faith, believing in the oneness of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, bearing witness to the oneness of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and to the messengership of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in this life and in the hereafter, upon death, and on the day of judgment. I ask Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to be amongst those who are granted this thabat in this life and in the hereafter. With this, we inshallah conclude the first selection, and the next one, inshallah, we'll go back. We return to Surah Ibrahim alayhi salam and to the verses 38 to 41, inshallah. Until then, subhanakallah wa hamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.